bring in Billy Osborne for Osborne's observations on the Eagles. Defend your head, the ProTech helmets. We talked a lot about them. He is a part of that. He's also a part of the Inside the Birds podcast with Jeff Mosher and Adam Kaplan. He joins us now on the Boardwalk Honda hotline with some observations of this loss against the Cowboys, which, Billy, a lot of people would say on film and on paper the Eagles are a better team than the Cowboys. How, essentially, then, do you lose a game in your building against a very limited team?
Well, Mike, I think you're right. That observation is correct. And what I'm about to say is it may rub some people the wrong way. Just know that I love America. I stand for the national anthem. I'm all about patriotism. I am. I love it. So make no mistake about it. However, I played football for 20 years. I've been involved with football for 45 years. You got to get into a different mindset when you step on the field. It's just a little different. It's not for everyone. And when you're ready to go, you need to have your mind at a different level. I feel the Eagles lost the game before, I should say, we're going to become ineffective before the game was even started and before they kicked off. And I told my wife and my two boys, I don't think the Eagles will get a first down for the first couple possessions. Why? Half the team's holding the flag. Please don't think I'm unpatriotic, but I don't want my quarterback and my coaches to be thinking anything else prior to kickoff before what are you doing when you step on that field. This is not bowling. You're getting ready to get your head knocked off. You got to be prepared. That, along with 2 weeks of preparation, and they went backwards basically for the first 4 series, really disappointing. Really disappointing.
So let's so essentially, we've heard some things in the past. Like I remember the year that McNabb came out, he played the air guitar, and people were all over him for that.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Right. So
it was horrible.
So you're essentially, hypothesizing that they were not mentally ready to play this game on Sunday night.
Well, holding the flag is like a normal, everyday thing that normal, everyday people do. But when you go out and play football, that's not normal. And it surely is not normal when you're playing in the National Football League. You need to be mentally prepared to go. I don't know how you hold a flag waving it like you're on cue, like you're waiting. I don't know if you saw that. When it got to a certain point, they were all told to, do the flag, which is great. I love that. I think it's tremendous. And please know that I'm not putting anything down. I'm just saying that you're going out there for mental and physical warfare, basically. How can you put a flag raising it like you're with somebody right next to him who's being told the same thing, and then all of a sudden that person's going to go in the stands, and you're going to put on your helmet, buckle it up, and run out and go out there and try and complete passes against 400-pound linemen who run 4 threes? I mean, I just don't understand how you can make that switch that quickly and become effective. And I don't know whether it's Doug or whatever. The other thing is, you guys know this, that they put out a 10-play or a 15-play. Every team does it. They put out, they work on the first 10 or 15 plays of the game. It's called a script. I don't know how you're off for 2 weeks. You do a lot of self-scouting, and that's the best plays, your first 15 plays that you threw out there against Dallas. A team that was basically waiting to be kicked in the you-know-what and quit. They wanted to quit. They were giving the game to the Eagles in the first half. They just didn't take it.
I think you're spot on with just how they look coming off of the extra time that they had, and I'll just micro it down to one level. You had extra time, if you're Doug Peterson in this offense, to not only integrate Golden Tate, but to go back and look exactly what he did with the Lions against the same team that you're playing. And this looked like Chip Kelly, DeMarco Murray, just a guy, give me a player without even looking at any tape about him. This looks so distant from what we've seen last year. I know people are trying to put their finger on, it's the absence of Frank Reich, the absence of DiFilippo, but this offense, forget the defense for a second, the offense just looks so distant from last year, and I thought that was a micro example of something that just would not have happened last year, specifically like with the addition of Jay Ajayi that we saw last year.
I couldn't agree with you more. Here's a guy that leads the league in third down catches, leads the league for the last 5 years, leads the league in the last 5 years for yards after catch. He leads the league in separation on routes. I mean, he is a guy that, you don't have to teach the position of wide receiver. He's been around football for a long time. Just give him some plays, some terminology, and let him go out there and do it. And it doesn't look like they're doing that much difficult, especially those RPOs. I agree with you. And I'm going to micro it down even another level. I have been talking, and listen, I am not a fan of people who just blast just to blast, especially coaches. You're not in the meeting room.
Sure.
You're not looking at film. You don't have all these tendencies. So I get that. I know that, even though I played, I'm still just observing, just like you and Mike and everyone else is, and we're just making opinions based on our observation. However, everybody's talking about third down. I think it's because we're not winning on first down is why it's killing us on third down, especially in that game. And I say this, I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, but I think that we're very lazy in our play calling. In other words, you saw when we went eye back and the Eagles were going off tackle, they were in the eye and they had Adams going downhill, they had cutback blocks, they were pulling the front side guard. They were getting in there. I mean, they ran the ball very effectively in the first half, but we ran 7 times. And then we go back and we just hand the ball off to the up back. It's such an advantage to the defense because they see where the ball is. There's only one man in the backfield, and you hand the ball off in front of you. Everybody just collides on that, and all you're doing is telling your offensive line to zone block. It's just, I think it's just a lazy play call, and you could see, I don't think we got that many yards in the entire game when we ran that play.
All right, so help us out, because now we can go macro and zoom out a little bit and just play to your knowledge and experience of this league and knowing how much you've been around coaches. So you don't have to specifically be in that exact media room with Doug Peterson breaking down that exact play, but I can guarantee, without knowing every single play that you were on the field for, that you've probably been in a similar situation in which you're looking at your coach scratching your head asking, what the hell just happened that we were either so ill-prepared or didn't take advantage of such an obvious situation? Is it simply ego? I mean, why do coaches fall into this obvious trap in which they just cannot take advantage of something in front of them?
I hate to think it's ego, but you see so many teams that are like on the 1 or 2 yard line, and you can score in any different way, and they seem to always now go play action and they pass the ball. It's almost like they're trying to pad their stats. I'm going to give you a perfect example of a macro level what you're just asking for. It's in the we go in the second half, and I think it was like 5 minutes ago in the third quarter. They get a first down run of like 8 yards, and then they incomplete on second down. So I'm sorry, it's 9 yards. So it's 3rd and 1, and it's 4 down territory because it's on the 35-yard line. So it's 4 down territory. They've been pushing them downfield. They've never gotten stopped out of eye back. I'm thinking, okay, let's just get the first down. We didn't get it on second down. That was a waste down. Everybody knows that you can throw for the down. That's what you do. You're not tricking anybody. Everybody knows that's what you do. It's like a 2-0 pitch in baseball. You try and get them to chase or an 0-2 pitch, whatever. So here they go. I'm thinking, okay, they're going to line up. What do they come out in? Third down, if you remember this play. What do they come out in? They come out in empty set. No backfield.
Right.
5 guys on the line of scrimmage. So now you're telling the defense, we're not running the football. Okay, unless we do something in motion. So you guys who are worried about your run responsibilities up front, don't worry about gap contain. Don't worry about running the football. Don't worry about a quarterback sneak. We're not doing that. Only thing we're going to do now is we're going to try and pass the ball. So everybody know where your drop zones are. Rushers, just put your ears back and try and get to the quarterback fast. Just do what you got to do. Nobody has to do anything else. There's no trickeration. There's no motion. There's nothing. And what do? We throw incomplete. All right. So it's 4 down territory. What do we do on 4th down? Now we line up in a running. Now we run up in a running formation. Everybody, like you said, now I don't have to be in the film room, either do you. Everybody knows they are going to run the football.
Right.
So what do? We go 1 back. Drives me crazy because now the only guy you have to key on is that guy. They go tight end to the left and they go stack to the right. They're asking Zach Ertz to play the fullback spot. Okay, now the linebacker who he's supposed to get is now cheating inside, and the receiver Aguilar to his right has a strong safety that's cheating to his right or cheating to his left. When the ball is snapped, the man who Zach Ertz is supposed to block is already in the hole. He's already a yard into the backfield. Zach can't even get to him, and Nelson, who's on the right of him, trying to block his man. His man is gone. So now Nelson has to go get a corner who obviously is not going to get involved in this play. And what do? We get stopped in the backfield for a 1-yard loss. That, to me, is a macro level of, I don't know if it's, I don't know what that is, but it just, to me, that just showed me to them that they just didn't do what they were supposed to do, I believe, in the 2 weeks leading up to that game.
Billy Osborne, former player, scout, now Defend Your Head, Protect Helmets, Inside the Birds podcast, former Pitt color analyst. And
thank you, Mike. And make sure you throw out my Twitter because I'm tired of hearing Adam and Jeff telling me how many followers they have on Twitter.
Oh, boy.
I don't, you know that. They're like, I say that tongue-in-cheek.
No, don't take Jeff Mosher off the hook. That's one of the most braggadocious people I know. He'll take every opportunity he can to rub in the fact that he's nearly 60,000 strong on Twitter.
Ozzy_football.
I love it.
Ozzy_football. Ozzy_football.
How does this man keep his sanity? On the left is Adam Kaplan. On the right is Jeff Mosher. I mean, you should be getting double pay for this.
You know, I thought so, too. I do sometimes tape my ankles. I have a mouthpiece in just so I can grind my teeth and not say bad things.
Sure.
So, yes, it is difficult. I do need combat pay.
Well, you have a tweet up here that might be the most, I don't want to say controversial, but might anger our listeners more than anything. And I don't know when this tweet was tweeted. I'm assuming it was halftime of the game or sometime after the third quarter. But you tweeted, and I agree with you for the most part for the season, that the Eagles' defense is playing good enough to win. Some people want Schwartz fired. They can't stand this guy. They think that the defense is horrible. And I say, look, Bill, the Eagles' defense gives up 20 a game. Last year they gave up 18 a game. So they're about the same. They are scoring 6 less points a game this year, and that may have gone down after this week. So to me, it's evident that the offense is this team's major problem. I'm not saying that the defense doesn't have lapses or hasn't been an issue at times, but I think their defense is playing on a similar level that they were last year. They're not turning the ball over as much, but they're still only giving up 18 to 20 points a game. In today's NFL, that should be good enough to win.
It should be, and you're right. It was at halftime. They did not play winning football in the second half. There's no doubt about that.
Well, after the third quarter, Bill, it was 13-13. So they had given up 13 points after 3, and then Darby gets hurt. You got Douglas out there. They start to fall apart in that secondary. It's not an excuse, but they fell apart in the fourth quarter, no question.
Yes, no doubt about it. And I looked at a couple. Again, we'll go micro a little bit. So I thought that I was really surprised at Rasul Douglas in this game. He made 3, really big mistakes that were glaring. He may have made more.
Are you blaming him because he went to WVU?
Is he a WVU guy?
Rasul, yes.
Oh my goodness! Now I'm going to blast.
There you go. That's all it took.
No, I'm only kidding. But let's think about this now. Now again, I thought that for the most part, I think that coach has done a nice job calling the defensive plays. He's a 4-man guy rusher. He doesn't like the blitz. My complaint in the first 2 games is he was too predictable, too. Like, I think that one of our biggest things on offense is we're extremely predictable, especially running the football. However, defensively, we were that way early in the season, and I thought he did a nice job because even though he's a 4-man rush, you can do that in different ways. You can show 6 and then drop 2 back. You can bring the outside guy and now drop the lineman. He can drop back. You can do a lot of different things, and I don't think he did that. I also thought he was playing a lot of man, and he wasn't playing help over top. And if you don't get home, then you guys have a lot of problems, covering for that long. But he mixed it up. He's been doing a decent job. And again, I'm sure the people, when they hear that, coaches, when they ask me to do decent, again, I'm giving my observation. So I think he's done a really good job. Except in that game, I was a little surprised with how banged up we were, that we were going as much man. But now I know why we're going man, so this is just push-pull. You're going more man because you're trying to drop more guys in the box because we're getting run against. So to try and stop the run, you're trying to get more guys in the front 7, and that backfired too. But let me just talk about Rasul Douglas. Right before the half, it's a screen game. Now, we should have been prepared for that. It was, we were all the way back. It was like 3rd and 20. He is out in the right corner. They run a nice little screen. Instead of staying outside and taking the guy to drive him and forcing the guy back inside, he ducks inside his man, and then next you know, it was a swinging gate right down the sideline for another 15, 20 yards because Rasul just did not play his technique correct. And that's the one thing where I think our corners are really hurting is their technique. The next thing, it's third, if you guys remember, it's 3rd and 8. And he's going up against a backup receiver. It was for the Cowboys. If you guys remember this play, it was 3rd and 8. He's on the outside, and he gets beat on the slant route. It was a tremendous route, but Rasul just flipped his hips. He thought he was going to run a go route. He's in the trail position. They move the chains.
Yeah,
2 or 3 plays later. Remember that?
I think it was Hearns.
Yeah.
Hearns. And then another time when they throw the ball out to the tight end, he misses the tackle, and the tight end gets another 14 or 15 yards, which got him into plus territory, and then they were able to score again. I will say this, I mean, and you can talk about Rasul. I just want to make sure I throw this out there too. The one thing I was really surprised at, if you guys saw the goal line where it was like 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1, they're probably going to score. The Cowboys are going to probably score. But if you look at where we were lined up, and I remember I kind of put this on video, Mike, because I was going to send it to you, and I can send it out in a tweet afterwards. We were in a situation where we were overplaying the right, which is the Cowboys' left. There was an area between the guard and the tackle and the tight end to the Cowboys' right. We didn't have a player in there. And Hicks was lined up in the right spot, protecting that same spot. For whatever reason, Nathan Gary was 9 yards back in the end zone when the Cowboys only had to go 1 yard for a touchdown. This was I don't have any idea what he was doing 9 yards back. When the ball was snapped, Hicks came over and took on the fullback and met him in the backfield. So now it's just, Ezekiel tried to get into the end zone, and Gary, that's his man, for some reason, he runs to the flat. And Dak just hands the ball off to Ezekiel and basically just turns around and stops. So there's no play action, there's no disguising, and Nathan Gary just ran away into these flat for no reason at all. And I thought to myself, and Hicks turned around and just looked at him like, what were you doing? So I think that might be a combination of scheme and player lapse.
Great stuff. Ozzy_football on Twitter. Defend Your Head, Protect Helmets, Inside the Birds podcast with Mosher and Kaplan. And every week right here, we'll get Ozzy's observations as the Eagles get ready for the Saints. Tall task ahead this week, my man.
It really is. And I'm curious, what's been the take from the callers all day? Has it been the offense or the defense?
Oh, yesterday was, I would say, more defense than offense, and I've been trying to, I don't want to say defend. They had a part in the loss, but I look at the defense in the fourth quarter of those 3 games stand out. But to me, they've scored 30 points one time this year, once. They scored 30 or more 9 times last year. People are not happy with this defense, but I think I personally have more blame for the offense.
I tend to agree with you. I think that was a really not a very good game for the defense, but I felt that, sometimes you play off each other and you get passion. I think that the defense was constantly going out there in that first half, and they were like, okay, we got to stop. Let's go, offense. We got to stop. And we just kept going 3 and out.
It's been all season like that. All season like that, where it's, all right, we got to stop, or we did something, and the offense can't get anything going. And then, late in the game, they give up 17 points. But it's like, for God's sakes, you've been asking me to make a play the whole damn game.
Yeah, and then, when you give a team, whether it's a college team or a pro team, you start giving them opportunities, they start, they're getting paid a lot of money to figure it out, too. So if you give them an opportunity to keep figuring out and getting out there, eventually they're going to crack the code.
Well,
and,
Peterson alluded to that. He said we had the RPO game last year was big for us, but teams watched it this summer, and they've figured it out a little bit. So now it's, hey, what's your adjustment? He hasn't been able to make them.
Well, I'll just make a point to that. They did a nice job with the RPOs in the second half, and if you saw, some of their big explosive plays in the second half were off of play action. Now, they were able to get the touchdown to that. They also got the long throw to it was Aguilar, right? Was he the one that went to play action?
Yes.
And they got tackled at the 5?
Yep.
So, they were able to do it, and that's what happens. If you run the ball, if you go back and you watch the film in the first half, when they go play action, the linebackers, I don't think that they were laughing, but as soon as they did that, they just went to their drop zone. They weren't even coming up a foot off of play action because they knew the way it was designed, where the play was, it was not going to be a run.
Billy, we got to run. Great observations, man. Appreciate it.
All right, good job, you guys. Take care.